Welcome back to the podcast and to the latest match report from the Chelsea first team. A win last night, the first in the last week and a half since we've come back from the international break. But by God, it was a hard-fought win. Unlike Manchester United, we were able to turn around a first-half deficit coming from behind to beat League One side Lincoln City in the Carabao Cup. We have now progressed to the fourth round, but much like the game against Manchester United in the Prem last week, very few positives to take from an incredibly hard-fought game, an incredibly disappointing Chelsea performance. That first half, I know Trevor Chalobah said the first 15 minutes against Manchester United was the worst 15 minutes of the season, but that first half against Lincoln yesterday, words fail me. Diabolical, calamitous, disastrous, aren't even the tip of the iceberg. But before we get into it, make sure to like, comment, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Every week we try and bring you plenty of match reports, weekly roundups, as well as FPL content, a bit of fun, entertainment. Go back and watch our last video where Charms and I discussed who we think would win the Ballon d'Or. Of course, now we know it's Ousmane Dembele, so congratulations to him. But we're not talking about that. Today we are talking about Chelsea, specifically last night's game against Lincoln. And as I've said, that first half, far and away the worst half of football that we've played all season. I know it's hard to believe, hard to understand, given that we have played Brentford, Bayern Munich and Manchester United, three of our worst performances this season, all in the space of 7 days. But again, I don't know what it is about Chelsea and playing in first halves. It was a major issue under Pochettino, Chelsea playing two different halves of football. And I know people say that football is a game of two halves, but at this level, with this level of quality, with this amount of quality players, it should not be taking teams to go 1-2-0 up for Chelsea to get going, for Chelsea to start. I can't remember the last time we started at 0 minutes. I mean, the intensity that we came out of the blocks against teams like PSG with in the Club World Cup, and then you compare that to how lackadaisical we've been in the first half of games this season. It is chalk and cheese, does not even do it justice. But it is, I think, across the board in that first half yesterday. I mean, obviously, lack of judgment, error of judgment from Enzo Fernandez to play a really poor pass. Some say that Chalobah should have done better and gone to it. I mean, yes, maybe. I should have anticipated the player coming in. Best case scenario, he hoofs it up the pitch and we lose it. Worst case scenario, again, we are our own worst enemy. We are the architects of our own downfall. It was Robert Sanchez, causing the problems at the weekend. It was Enzo Fernandez yesterday. And I'm not sure what's happening with Enzo Fernandez because he's undergoing a little bit of a dip in form recently. He's not really the same distributor, not really the same kind of metronome that we've grown to love, been accustomed to at Chelsea. The guy that wants to sit deep, dictate the play, be that deep lying playmaker. He's just not that same guy now. Now we're asking him, I mean, yes, he's added the goals and assists to his game, but I do feel like his quality on the ball has dropped. I don't know if anybody else can speak to that, but I'm looking at players like Andre Santos, Moises Caicedo, as far more complete midfielders than Enzo Fernandez. I'd even argue that Andre Santos is outperforming him at the moment. Did so last night easily. And I think he did so against Manchester United as well. I think Andre Santos was far more influential. He wins more duels. He's far more progressive with the ball. I don't know what's happened with Enzo Fernandez, and I really hope it's not finite. I really hope it's something that he can get back because we know the quality is there, the ability to spray a pass, second to none in terms of this team. I'd say him and Reece James are the best distributors of a football, but we haven't seen that Enzo Fernandez for a good season, for half a season now. So I do want to see that. I do want to see something change there. I do want to see him, come out of this slump as soon as possible. We've still got some big games this month. We've obviously got Brighton this weekend where we need everybody to be, I think Paul Merson was the one that said Brighton players are going to be playing like it's an audition. They're going to be playing for that 50, 60 million pound move in the summer. We know Brighton hate us and love playing against us. So we're going to need our players to be on top form this weekend. And it's got to a point where I'm thinking Enzo Fernandez has got to sit this one out. If we play a central midfield pairing of Caicedo and Andre Santos, I think that would be far more secure. And obviously, we got Lavia coming back from injury slowly. We've got Dario Asugo, extended period of time on the sidelines with that injury sustained in international duty. I think centre midfielders, we're looking fairly thin on the ground, I can't believe I'm saying, already. And I think they said last night that Enzo Maresca's already got the second largest injury list in the Premier League. I mean, it doesn't help that the players that we're stuck with and have to rotate with are the ones that aren't performing. And, certain individuals, Enzo Fernandez being a prime candidate, really do need a boot up the arse to kind of to get going. I feel like they really haven't started this season. But on the flip side of that, really impressed with Andre Santos. I think he was a player that I followed incredibly closely last season and the year before, but particularly last season, in the loan watching him at Strasbourg, captain in the team at 20 years old, the leader, the quality that he brought to the team, both in terms of, on the ball, but also, his leadership, his mentality. I think his attitude is fantastic. I think his technical ability is fantastic. He is a player that really excites me. And, there were plenty of rumours, plenty of reports that Chelsea turned down bids this summer for 50, 60, 70 million. It would take a lot more than that, I feel, to let Andre Santos go at this point in time. I feel like he can be an extremely complete midfielder. He's got all the defensive duel-winning attributes of Moises Caicedo, and he's also got, the attacking impetus akin to Enzo Fernandez. I think he can really be that bridge between the defence or the midfield and attack. When Cole Palmer is out, when, we are looking for someone to kind of do that number 8 box-to-box role. He's got so many different attributes that make him a fantastic individual player. And I think last night he was one of a few that did impress me throughout. I think in the first half, he was probably the only player that I was all right with, that I wasn't mad at. I think everybody else, Philip Jorgensen in goal. I used to say with my chest that Philip Jorgensen was a better goalkeeper than Robert Sanchez. I mean, I'd still stand by that, but it's neck and neck, and not in a good way. I can't believe the amount of money that we've spent, and these are the two keepers we've ended up with. Yeah, we're not winning the league this season. I know Charms is still holding out hope, and I'm saying, look, with a miracle, there's no way we win the league with these two in goal. We could bring back Mike Penders, and I would say leave him as our number one. Do not rotate, rotate him and Slanina. Philip Jorgensen, I know it was his first game of the season, long throws, set pieces, difficult situation to be thrown into. But yeah, as a Premier League keeper, as an international keeper for Denmark, got to be doing far better than that. And in defence, I mean, like I said, Chalobah, I think, gets a lot of stick. He was a model professional last year. He did everything that we as fans and the club could have asked and hoped from him. And I think he's continuing to do that. I think he's on the ball is very solid. I think he provides a bit of leadership at the back. The only thing that I kind of do feel from Trevor Chalobah is that on that leadership aspect, he's maybe not as vocal, maybe not as loud as he could be. I feel like he is, because he's a genuinely lovely, nice, humble bloke, a God-fearing Christian. I feel like he does need to put that fear of God into the other players a little bit. He does need to kind of take charge, take the reins. And that's one thing that I love about Levi Colwill. Even at his young age, he is willing and able to accept responsibility, be the one to step up as a leader. And that's why I've always said I see Levi Colwill as a club captain, a future England captain in the long term. But Trevor Chalobah, for me, I don't see how anybody rates Fofana over Chalobah. I think what he's done for the club, as a professional footballer, as an individual, I think nobody can have a single complaint. And then I think on the ball, his performances on the pitch, I don't think he deserves the amount of flack, the amount of criticism that he gets. Honestly, I don't know what it is. I don't know whether it's, Chelsea fans hating academy graduates. I don't know whether it's a race thing. I'm not sure. But I genuinely don't understand why everybody hates Trevor Chalobah so much. I think out of our centre-backs, out of the 3 available centre-backs at the moment in Tosin, Chalobah and Fofana, Chalobah's going to be my first name on the team sheet every single time. Jorel Hato was an interesting one because he was getting a little bit... that was the main tactical switch. I think Enzo Fernandez actually said, and I'll pull up the quote here as well, I think the main tactical switch at half-time was related to Jorel Hato because we did see him coming back to left-back. And then obviously Mark Cucurella, when he came on, was in centre mid. But in the second half, Jorel Hato was doing a lot more busy work in the centre of midfield. I don't know whether it was just to provide an extra body, but whether it was his technical ability or whether it was us crowding them out, it did work well. Enzo Maresca said yesterday at half-time, we changed something tactically that I think had been important. Jorel was playing in a different position compared to the first half. The structure and the shape of the team between the first half and the second half was completely different, and that probably helped a bit. I don't disagree with that, and how could you disagree? He's telling you what tactics he implemented in the team. Stupid comment from me. But I think having players like Cucurella, Joro Hato, I said at the start of the season, I thought Joro Hato would be our most important signing in terms of Cucurella needing a left back, the positions in which he could fill centre back, left back, centre mid. You know, you look at a player like João Pedro, who has been our best summer signing. He can play, you know, up front in a 10, maybe off the wing. Esteval can play off either wing or in the middle. You know, the players that we've brought in, we love the word on this channel, very utilitarian, can do 2-3 different roles. And Joro Hato typified that last night. I thought his performance, particularly in the second half on the ball, was very good. He did kind of struggle. It did take him a while to get up to speed in the first half. But again, I can't be too critical about him more than anybody else because the whole team was diabolical. Moving forward, I thought Malo Gusto in the second half as well. I thought he was fantastic. Actually, you know what? Let's chronologically, let's finish off the first half. George didn't touch the ball in 39 minutes, and I'll be the first to admit, I can't believe I'm going to do this on camera. I was slagging him off for 60 minutes. For the first half and for the half time, my head was gone. I was steaming. I was thinking, how is he still getting these chances, getting these opportunities when he is clearly half-arsing it? He is clearly not bothered. And I feel like the situation with him on deadline day and Fulham, the fact that Enzo Maresca's using him makes me think that Enzo Maresca didn't want to let him leave. But the club were definitely happy for him to go. He was, all but gone to Fulham before that deal fell through. So, look, I love Tyreek George, and I've been saying for a long time, I'm a big fan of the academy and pushing the academy graduates forward. I think he is an excellent individual. I think he is a very, very good footballer. However, I feel like he has just not hit that level. He is not pushing on. See Josh Achimpong, who has got his breakthrough and, although unfortunately we didn't get to see him yesterday because of illness, when he's got his chance, he has built on it. He has proven to us that he deserves his opportunities. In the last couple of games when Tyreek George has come on, and I know he's playing out of position, and I know it's not a role that's familiar and best suited to him. We've had, games like Manchester United, we're down to 10 men, so it's going to be a little bit difficult. Look, I expect a lot from these players because I know how good they are, and it does feel to me like Tyreek George has let his foot off the gas ever since kind of the back end of last season where he did that interview and said, look, I want to get game time, whether it's at Chelsea or elsewhere. That for me was he's mentally checked out. It was good to see last night that he proved me wrong. For the 15 minutes of half time where I was saying, get him off, get Shim on. We need an actual body up front. 3 minutes later, he scores an absolute screamer. The goal of the season so far for Chelsea. One of the, if not his best goal of the career. I think, he's shown us he can hit them. Remember the goal against Fulham last year? Now, remember this goal against Lincoln? The way he hit that, sumptuous. Unbelievable finish. And I think he did well for the Buonanotte goal after. Although it was very, very poorly defended. I think it was more poorly defended than better attacking. He held the ball up well, managed to play the ball through to Buonanotte. He got a goal and assist in 2 minutes, and he proved me wrong. And look, I'm not going to sit here and change the narrative on him. He was diabolical first half. I don't remember him touching the ball before 39 minutes. He was very, very poor, very little presence. But again, he's playing against a big physical couple of centre backs in a position he's not used to. The whole team played very poorly. He's getting very little service, very little link-up play. These are new players around him as well. Buonanotte, Garnacho, Gittins, a lot of them getting their first start this season or first start for Chelsea full stop. So you can understand why it may have taken him a little bit more time to get settled in. And I'm really hoping that will be his moment. I'm really hoping that he will now kick on. And if he continues to get opportunities, he will make good on them. Because at the end of the day, I want nothing else than these players to succeed. Whether it's at Chelsea or elsewhere, I want Tyreek George to do well and have the best professional football career he can. And I really do hope that it's at Chelsea. And I tell you what, if Garnacho and Gittins keep playing the same way, he's definitely got a career this season. Because these signings are just... It is becoming more clear to me by the day that Enzo Maresca wanted nothing to do with these players. These were not the guys that he wants. They're just struggling to find their way into a system that does not suit them. You saw Garnacho and Gittins switching wings yesterday. Neither one of them really looked particularly dangerous against League One defenders. I think Esteval, when he came on, blew both of them out of the water. I think Esteval looked like he made something happen. A little Megs, 2 minutes with him coming on, link-up play, direct dribbles, actually trying to make something happen, 2 block shots. Garnacho had 1 pass back in 55 minutes, and Jamie Gittins, had an awful opportunity where he snapped it at the near post instead of putting it in the far. Again, variables, they're young, new club, give them time. Difficult situation last night. Definitely not enough for me. I think Gittins is showing more signs than Garnacho for me. But for those 2 players to not get a goal and or assist last night was a big, big disappointment for me. When you consider the level of opposition, with all due respect to Lincoln City, players like Garnacho, Jamie Gittins should be scoring hat-tricks. We saw the Brighton player Gomez score a hat-trick last night against Barnsley. The fact that we, struggled, I don't think we put a single shot on target in the first half. If I remember what they said correctly on commentary, we did not have a single shot on target in the first half, which is diabolical. But moving on to the second half, I think, again, the difference in halves, Enzo Maresca said he was incredibly angry, rightfully so. I think we were all steaming as Chelsea fans at half-time. I just don't get how it can be so different. I don't get what can change that drastically. I know Hato's position changed slightly, and I know we, started to make a couple of subs. Immediately from the kickoff, we were popping the ball about like Chelsea. And I don't know whether it was just giving them too much credit, giving them too much respect. I really don't know what it is. You feel like these Premier League players, these footballers that play at the top level are so well drilled to do what they do day in, day out, repeat. It is such a consistent routine, bar, different fixtures, different travelling. I just don't understand how you can fall so far away from what we knew, what we expect, and then bounce back after one bollocking. But the second half, while not scintillating, while not brilliant, was much more like it, was much more like the Chelsea that we know. And, even though that second goal was incredibly poorly defended, we did more than enough to deserve to come out of the game with 3 points. The one thing I will say, though, is from set pieces, there was a long free kick, I think, forward in the 91st minute, 1 out of 4 minutes of added time. And Pedro Neto let his man free at the back post. And that's been one of my main gripes this season. I think from set pieces, we've been incredibly poor. People have been saying, we're great from set pieces going forward because we scored from 4. 3 of them were against West Ham and they were very poorly defended. And it's West Ham. Let's not get too far ahead of ourselves. With all the height that we've got, with all these physical players, I think we should be doing far more from attacking set pieces, but defending them, we are 6s and 7s every time a ball comes into the box. More often than not when a ball comes in from open play. But from set pieces, if it's a long throw, if it's a corner, a free kick, we just cannot mark. And it's not even really the first ball, it's the second and the third ball. Our reliance on pressing high and the offside trap is a nightmare, is a real Achilles heel for Chelsea. And you look at teams like Arsenal focusing and ramping up the long throws. This is something that we've seen as a pattern, this season. Last year, a lot more focus on the set pieces. This year seems to be long throws. The ugly side of football is rearing its head. And Chelsea are going to have to get a lot better at doing this dirty work. How many times have I said on this channel, it's a game of fine margins. The smallest mistakes can have huge impacts, and set pieces are far too much of an aspect of today's game to be as poor as we are. I'm pretty sure that we spent £10 million on this set piece coach from Brentford at the start of last year. I haven't seen one routine, either attacking or defensive, that's worked since his appointment. So please, if you know anything about that £10 million transaction, either A, run it back, or B, taxman, Carol Prince, if you're watching, investigate. Shout out as well, if anybody watches Carol Prince, the HMRC videos on Twitter, one of the best content creators in the football space out there right now. But yeah, I don't think there's much more to say. Obviously, like I said earlier, I think Malagusto had a great second half. But again, you've got to take this with the pinch of salt, with a grain of salt, because we were playing against the League One side. So I would expect these fully fledged internationals to be, with all due respect, wiping the floor with a League One side in the third round of the Carabao Cup. But all said and done, Chelsea are through. Doesn't matter how we got there, we got there. Fingers crossed, I think we'll find out on Thursday after the Arsenal game who we've got. But hopefully we've got a home game. Who knows? Fingers crossed this is the start of not necessarily a new leaf, because I don't think we were in that much of a dire strait. But look, the last week has been very, very difficult. 2 losses, 1 draw, no games 1 out of 3. A lot of goals conceded, a lot of negatives, and a lot of scrutiny on Chelsea in the last week. So, you know, a draw or a defeat, obviously it went to penalties, so it couldn't have been a draw. A draw or loss would have been awful yesterday. We would have really struggled, and I think we would have lost against Brighton. But now we can kind of push that week and a half to the side, start fresh. I think the only other negative to speak about is Cole Palmer. I think he's going to be out for 3 to 6 weeks. But look, fully rested Caicedo, fully rested João Pedro. You know, there are a lot of players that I'm excited to see this weekend. Esteval hopefully back in the starting lineup. Pedro Neto looked dangerous when he came on. You know, hopefully these players can pull their fingers out and start playing like the Chelsea that was playing against PSG. Start playing against the Chelsea that was playing in the Club World Cup and at the back end of the Premier League last year. Because that team is, you know, we've strengthened, we've added to that team. But we still don't look like a shadow of them. So, yeah, we'll bring on Brighton on Saturday. You will have some sort of content from us between now and then, because Mr. C Money Picks will be bringing you a chopping it up with charms, whether that's FPL related, whether it's Carabao Cup related. I don't know. You'll have to wait and see. You might get another video from me as well this week, maybe a loan watch, maybe an academy watch. The under-21s did unfortunately lose 3-0 to Northampton Town in the EFL Trophy last night. But good experience for them, playing against another senior side. Obviously played against Shrewsbury before, but a lot of youngsters last night, including, I think, Isaac Badu, who may only be 15, 16, and I believe made his debut for the under-21. So congratulations to him. I think Tara Subaloy played for the first time as well. McMahon captained. A lot of solid positives to take from an otherwise very negative scoreline. And also, big congratulations to Shin Mayuka, who made his Carabao Cup debut last night. Thought he was very solid when he came on, gave a good showing. And while Liam Delap's out, and particularly if Mark Hughes cup tied in the Carabao Cup, Shin Mayuka, now is 100% your time to shine. Until the next one, make sure to like, comment, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Follow us on @2bluespodcast on the Instagram, and we'll be back very soon with some more great Chelsea content. Up the Chelsea.